Nithyanandam, with the grace and auspicious blessings of my Guru, His Holiness Paramahamsa Nithyananda Swami, I make this video today about a core principle of life that is taught in our Vedic scriptures and by our masters and by Swamiji, and that is of responsibility. Now you may have heard, of course you would have heard this term before, because it's stuffed down our face by our parents, our schooling system, at work. Everyone talks about taking up responsibility, or you have to be more responsible, or you need to prove yourself by taking more responsibility. So sometimes, at least for me, that word had a little bit of a negative connotation, almost like there was a pressure associated with the word responsibility. And until I was living in the Aadheenam in Bengaluru, I kind of carried that cognition about the word responsibility. It seemed like almost like a burden or something I didn't want to do inside. Even if I am acting like I'm doing something, there will be some sort of resistance when taking up some responsibility. So when I was living in the Aadheenam over a year, I was given a responsibility of a certain department. And for me, that department seemed like a big responsibility. So you can see I'm already stacking up the weight of this responsibility. And so I was going on learning, talking with people, attempting to learn the processes, attempting to get the work done. And so much was not happening the way it should be happening. I was doing action, I was taking action, I was spending the time doing something I thought for making the work happen in that department. But so many of the end users of that department were unhappy with the work, with what the results or how it was impacting them. Things were not basically moving fast enough. And I couldn't figure it out. It was just, I felt like, okay, first of all, I'm having to deal with some people who speak a different language. They don't understand my American accent. Or this problem was created before I came on and now it's dumped on me, so to speak. Or it's too many things. I'm not able to handle this many things at once, plus my other responsibilities. So there's a lot of cognitions that I had mapped out in my head. I wasn't necessarily expressing them on a daily basis, but that's even worse because I was expressing them inside to me. And so what was happening was like, whatever ways to measure that department, it was resulting in failures. And there was one meeting we had with all the Aadheenavasis and some of our international Sangha members. And when somehow the situation turned to me, and there's no somehow in this whole, when you're Swamiji's disciple, there's no somehow. Everything is a beautiful flow towards your transformation. So in this meeting, the somehow landed on me. It's like, what? Who is happy with this department? Literally, the question was asked to everyone. And I'm sitting there like, okay. No, the question, I take that back. The question is, who is unhappy with this department? I was like, oh my God. And also, one of my patterns was, I don't like the tension on me, nor do I like negative feedback. Who does? But anyways, so then everyone raised their hand. Literally everyone in the room raised their hand. And who raised their hand also? Swamiji. He didn't raise just one hand. He raised both hands. So the point was very clear that no one was happy with this department. So whatever idea I had in my head that I'm doing the best I can, or some part of it is good, maybe this part is not good, but the rest is okay. But any kind of logic I had was just thrown out the window because clearly that's not what was landing on the rest of the ashram, the rest of the Aadheenavasis. So okay, and then one of our Sri Nithyananda helped walk me through a completion in front of everyone. So I got some clarity from that. And of course I had to do, additional completion was I also did. And then a few days later, I don't exactly remember the timing difference, but I was just thinking, I was like, wow, I really have allowed a mess to happen. I have made a mess of things. Nothing is going right here. It's a pretty bad mess. Then I realized, wait a second. I created this mess. Now, normally my thought process would have stopped there. I would have been like, I created this mess. Oh, I'm so bad. I have some kind of guilt or some feeling, some SDHD about how I feel about me. But then I took it a step further. What Swamiji has been talking about the four tattvas for several years now, and he was talking about it then during satsang. So, in the context of how Swamiji was teaching, it just struck me. I am responsible for this, yes, which means I created this big mess, yes, which means I'm damn powerful. If I could create such a big mess, then I can simply change it and make it a success. So it was such a clarity I had that it's not so much the work or the actual results. It's me understanding that I have the power to create any reality around me. It could be what's labeled as negative or what's labeled as a failure, or it can simply just be flipped to something that's labeled as a success or something that's labeled as positive. But the common denominator is me. I am in control of what's happening around me. So that means I am responsible for what's happening around me. So it was such a click, because then the word responsibility had a real tangible meaning for me. It was literally, I could understand what it meant to take responsibility for what's happening inside of you and around you. So when I understood through the completion process what is happening inside of me, and I understood I was creating this whole situation around me, then I took responsibility for changing that situation. So again, it came back to my completion, and that reflected in my environment. So when you hear the word responsibility, which is taught, whether you're an Aadheenavasi, whether you're a sannyasi, whether you're taking the Inner Awakening program, whether you're in the Sangha volunteering in the SMKT, you'll hear the word a lot. And it's not the definition that you understand in the outside world. That's just something very incidental. Because when you take responsibility with the right context and right understanding, then naturally you'll do the work. The work is not the problem. The problem is how you're cognizing yourself and how you're cognizing the world around you. So I just hope that everyone really gets an opportunity to look into this concept of responsibility, how Swamiji teaches it, because it really elevates you and liberates you, and it makes you more powerful. When you really understand you are responsible for everything that's happening around you. And there's so many videos, Nitya Satsangs where Swamiji spoke on it, and I'll have the links available in this video so that you can easily find the videos on responsibility, because he says it in so many different ways, and I'm just expressing my experience. But when you hear directly the teachings from Swamiji, and then you look in and have your own experience, then it becomes your reality. So I hope you're encouraged to look into the word and the word responsibility and realize it's more than just a word. It can be your state of being. And it's just helpful to have reminders, have a Sangha that reminds you about what really responsibility means. And of course, having a master that really ingrains that in you and doesn't give up until you make that your reality. So thank you, Swamiji, for giving me this experience, and thank you everyone for listening. And if you have any comments or questions, please put them in the comment section. And I hope you have a wonderful and blissful day. Nithyanandam.